Hey curriculum writers, I am going to walk you guys through the curriculum update. So we're going to start with the first slide of the PowerPoint. Basically, this is for you to welcome everyone and explain to them why this year we are going to do Mission Possible. So some of the reasons you can give them is we all have some serious skills in very difficult and complex system that is public education. Sometimes the task seems almost impossible, but we use our skills and our teams to make them possible. And then last but not least, we save the world regularly. And you can also kind of let teachers come up with reasons why this is going to be mission possible, but that is up to you. Secondly, go ahead and tell them that we are using Tom Cruise again. Remind them about our Top Gun Institute, and remind them to access the Google Classroom for the Institute as well, because some of the resources that they will need for this will be on that Google Classroom. There will be other places too, but go ahead and have them pull that up. Our icebreaker is going to be where teachers pick which Ethan Hunt they are. So you can either have them do this at their individual tables, or this can be kind of an introduction activity where they can say their name, their campus, their subject, and then which Ethan Hunt they are and why. So use it kind of as an example. So for me right now, I would say I am number 6 because I'm kicking butt and taking names on the Screencast-O-Matic. But you guys can come up with different reasons as well. Go ahead and model that for the teacher so they know what that should look like. This is where we really get started in content. You're going to kind of talk about how this should be our end goal anytime we're thinking about curriculum or planning lessons. So have them answer this question, and on the next slide you'll see that we are creating Padlets for them to do this on. That's still in the process, that by the time you guys get this and it's curriculum update time, those will be completely 100% ready. So you want them to answer the question, 5 to 10 years from now, what do you want your students to remember about your class? Then at the end, ask them how their practices in their classroom align with this hope, and let them reflect on this as well through a quick write or ways to be better at achieving this goal for the year. So here are the Padlets, and like I said, this will be done by the time you guys are at curriculum update. Then go through the learning target with them. There's some ways you can diffuse the learning target. You can either have them choose the part that they are most or least comfortable with, or you can even define any vague language or make sure you have common academic language. This is where you guys are going to watch this awesome video. This is the video that is going to kind of drive the positive environment that we're going to have for this curriculum update. So the video is only about 3 to 4 minutes long. I'm not going to play it for you guys here, but definitely play it, watch it, so that you know what it's going to look like. Next, we're going to actually discuss the video, or use the video as discussion for our just kind of to move us forward in what we're about to do. So we're going to use Microlabs, and if you haven't used Microlabs before, that's okay. You will get the protocol, and all the teachers will have the protocol, but I'm just going to walk you guys through it really fast. So basically the purpose of Microlabs is just to have a structured conversation where one person is talking and the other 2 people are there to just listen. So you will have groups of 3, and there are ways to do it with more than a group of 3, but I highly recommend that you only do a group of 3. And then the teachers will decide who's going to be A, B, or C. Each participant will have 1 minute to answer each question, and there are 3 questions. So this is the first question. And as one participant talks, the other 2 listen. They do not respond. Even whenever their 1 minute is up, there is no response. And even whenever they get a chance to talk as well, they have no obligation to respond to what the person before them said. So let's say you're doing question 1. You can say, all right, we're going to have person B start. Then you will say start, and they will start talking about this question. When the time is up, you'll say stop. Now person C, and that person will get 1 minute to talk about this question. And then they'll do the same thing for person A. Then you're going to move on to question 2, do the same thing, and then move on for question 3 and do the same thing. So in total, it's going to take probably about 15 minutes with transitions. When you are done with the discussion, it's important to know that you don't actually have to have to share out if you don't want to. If you want to share out, go ahead. But it's also a great time for you guys to debrief the whole process and ask the question, when would this be beneficial in the classroom? Again, you guys can share out or have them do a quick write or have them do a reflective write, but this is really so they can start getting their ideas flowing as they move into the next part of the day, which is going to be the data dig. So right now we are waiting to see if TEA is going to release the STAR from last year. We don't know if they are, but the data will be available on EduGens, and we'll actually print that out for you guys. So even though you won't be able to see the actual questions, you'll see where they are kind of going wrong. So I'm going to pull up this tiny URL. All the teachers will go here, and you'll see that they're going to go here, and the drop down for their agency is going to be their school. And then they will list 3 strengths. So basically it's going to be TEKS, or if it's AP College Board, they can do that as well. And then 2 areas for growth. And then they're going to come up with a PLC goal. So a couple things to talk about with these. There are 3 strengths instead of 2 because we want to really focus on strengths. And this question right here, what strategies from Institute will help support this strength? We're going to also see that mirrored down here with growth, where it says which strategies from Institute could be beneficial for this growth area. So we know that pretty much every year we see the same TEKS pop up again and again for strengths and for growth, and we want to look at it through a different lens, the lens of the Institute, using those strategies from Institute to either further that growth or either kind of figure out how we can approach something differently. And then finally, with that PLC goal, make sure you remind them that it should be a quote-unquote SMART goal, meaning that specific, measurable, and achievable. And this is only a goal for the first 6 weeks, so they don't have to look beyond the first 6 weeks. So when they're done with that, which that should take some time, probably about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour, we are going to be having probably Kylie Lloyd come around and going to be doing a technology update. We have talked about it a little bit with some other curriculum writers, and we think we want to make this a really focused technology update where it's only focused on 1 or 2 things so that teachers aren't overwhelmed. I know that everyone's pretty on edge at this time during the year, and so this is going to only be, we talked about doing Google Classroom or Pear Deck during this time, talking about how those 2 can marry each other. So it's going to be about 20 to 30 minutes. Okay, now we're going to go through and talk about all of the updates that you need to go through, or reminders for this upcoming year. The first one, and especially for our high school, upper high school, this won't be that much different, but do let your teachers know that we are vertically aligning high school with middle school when it comes to the SAR, which we are now calling the analytical paragraph. So the term SAR, we are leaving that term behind because we no longer have SAR. All of our paragraphs are part of an essay now, or building up to writing an essay. So this link at the top will actually take you to the Google Drive, and we're going to put this pretty much everywhere. It'll be on the list. It'll be on all the Moodle curriculum pages. It'll be on the Google Classroom. So we're going to put it everywhere so teachers have access to it. We're making sure that the language from the high school rubric is going to be seen in middle school. We're obviously simplifying that language a little bit, but we want to make sure that it's vertically aligned where our middle school kids are coming up. And by the time they get to 9th grade, it's going to be very, very clear for them. When it comes to grading analytical paragraphs, this is probably the biggest change for high school, is that we're no longer going to grade on a 3-point scale. We're going to grade on a 4-point scale like we would for a typical STAR essay. So as we used to give a 0, 1, 2, 3, we're not going to do that anymore. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. That way it's better aligned with that STAR essay. Okay, next you're going to talk about and remind teachers that the blended model is something we really want to think about going into this next year. So giving students choice in their text and balancing the classic text that we use with the text chosen by the student. Then remind them again that we are going to encourage silent reading in class as long as there's a purpose with it. So it needs to be something where they are held accountable. It's following some type of mini lesson, and it's going to be there to emphasize the importance of reading. So we do want our students reading in class, but there does need to be a purpose behind that. And then finally, here's kind of our hodgepodge slide of everything to remind you of. So obviously up there is all the small things teachers can do to help us accomplish our goal of increasing reading volume this year. Remind teachers with CBAs that they need to be taking the CBA at the beginning of the 6 weeks so they know where they're building up to, and also so that they can see if there's anything that needs changing. That way, when students take the CBA, it's not going to be a surprise to anyone what's on it. Then for summer reading, make sure teachers have a plan to hold students accountable for summer reading within the first 6 weeks. So remember, we can't give a grade over summer reading until 3 weeks in. So make sure they have a really clear plan for what they want that to look like. For journal writing, remind them about the district expectations, that students are writing in their reader-writer journal 2 times a week, and that there are 3 pieces of feedback in that journal per grading period. And remind teachers that 2 of those 3 pieces of feedback can be peer-to-peer feedback. So we're not expecting teachers to go home and dive through journals 3 times in 6 weeks. So remind them of that. And then finally, don't forget to use us. We're here for a bunch of things. We can model, we can co-teach, we can do small group instruction, we can do conferring, we can do data digging, goal setting, we can serve as judges on PBL presentations. Just know that we're here to help you guys, to support you, to make sure your classroom runs smoothly. So reach out to us and use us as much as possible. Then it's lunchtime, everyone's favorite time of the day. They will have 90 minutes to go to lunch, so you guys will set that time. The rest of the day, teachers are going to be breaking into their curriculum. So this is when you will go through that first 6 weeks of curriculum with your teachers and make sure that they are keeping their goal in mind as they go through that curriculum, the goal that they set during the data dig. And also make sure they're thinking about the strategies from ELA Institute. All right, that is it, and that will be the end of the day. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. This is Meredith Lee, by the way. Megan Davis, Jordan Tate, or Brittany Bragg. We will all be there, but hopefully this was helpful.